Yo guys, what's up? It's Özgün here. First of all, thanks for the massive supports on Hooked. So we are getting so much nice comments. We are climbing the Beatport charts, so thanks for all the support. And today I'm gonna show you the drops of Hooked. If you're ready, let's get into the tutorial. I'm gonna turn off the master because we mastered it in a separate project. Max actually made the mastering of the track. So let's start with the kick and bass. But first I can show you the first drop. I hope I don't get any lags. Okay, let's start with the kick and bass. So in kick, we have three different layers. So one layer is contains the main kick. And we have a top kick. Actually, it's more than a top kick. I learned it from one of the Olly James Patreon videos. So it's a really nice sample to layer with the kick. It's fitting best this kind of situations. And also I have a top kick like this. So actually the top kick, a hardstyle kick from Kashmir. We just cut it like this and took the one part. And one thing that is really interesting is what we made to the kick. So actually, as you can see, we have two different layers, but actually they are same kick, but like duplicated. It's not a different sample. Why we did this? Because we needed to pitch the kick. It was G sharp, but we needed one semitone up. So we just cut the kick two parts. The first part we didn't touch. But the second part, which contains the sub and the tonality of the kick, we just pitch it. So its key is accurate now, but we didn't lose any of the quality. So all the layers is like this. There is no crazy processing on the kick, just a bit boost, a bit more boost. And I think it's doing nothing. Yeah, that's all for the kick. And for the transients, to get a bit more click, we use this plugin to shape the transients. Let's go to the sub. For the sub, we are using a sample. It's just a sample, like a kick. The original sample sound like this. In this case, we just pitch it to our key. Max suggested this cut. I usually don't cut my sub, but in this example, it's becoming more deep, so we just cut it and we boost some of the frequencies. Boosting the E is the fifth of A, so track is in A. If you count the usable keys in the A, you will go to E. And E is really nice way to check in your sub. You can make it a bit boost, so it can resonate and give a really nice big room character to the sound. And we have an EQ like this, cut the highs, boost a bit more lows. And this crazy EQ, we just wanted to match some balances in it. We have overdrive and one more cut. That's all. So we have a sidechain. The main thing in here is overdrive. Just compare it with and without. It's making a huge difference. Okay, let's go to first drop lead. So we actually have a sample like this it's from Splice. We just cut it to change the rhythm of this, and we give it EQ, distortion, and more EQ and delay, and that's all. So we tried to make it completely different sounds from this to this. And the second lead is the feature Rave lead. So I think we have two layers. Yes, the one layer is this. So the first layer is more clicky, second layer we have some attack, so we don't get that much click. One is more mono, one is more white, so they are blending nice in same sound, in same mixer channel. We have Camel Crusher, EQ, Novel Tech Character, just boosting it like hell, some coloring, and also this is really good equalization plugin. It can give a really nice color to the sound. I always like to use this one, and we made one last EQ to boost the highs and the mids a bit, and then we have a reverb, but the reverb is sidechained. We actually used a synth, delay and reverb, but to fill the gaps between MIDI, like this part, we put another reverb and automated it in that part. So it's only filling the gaps like an FX. This delay is doing the same job. It's like automating in the end of phrases. So the processing is like this. The drop leads is going to a lead final bus. There are some filter and reverb, but only for automation purposes. So we have a reverb in the bus and we are sidechaining the signal with itself. Same goes for the delay. So with this kind of routing and processing, you can get really clean sounds on the leads. So they sound like this. I hope my PC allow me to play back. And of course, we have the reverse sounds. We just record a long reverb tail with the first note, and we made a reverse and put the beginning of the notes. And the leads and kick bass is like this for first drop. I can show you the drums. You will get all the sounds in the hooked sample pack as well. We have some percussions, but I think we just cut the highs, so made it more deep, like a deep tom, to give the groove. And we layered it with this. And we have claps. We are always cutting the tail of the samples because every sample got a reverb tail. So if you have separate samples with different kind of reverb tails, it's not gonna be in the context of the same track. So always make sure to create your own tails in your track. So in this case, we add some reverb, really small, but it's like its own tail. So we put the same reverb to other sounds. We will be consistent on the ambience of our track. So we have these loops. And also, guys, we have an acid shot. Let's see how it sounds without processing. Overdrive, distortion, EQ. Like we wanted to make and shape it really different way. So with this, it's more sound in the mix. I think we have some sweeps which is not in this project because like Max added them in the mastering. In this project, we are missing one sweeps, I think. Let's show you the drop fill because I think it's really interesting. You probably heard we have Fruity Effector, and which is in the Vox mode, so it's like automating here to give the moment to the sound. But if you hear, we have also some LFO, and we didn't put the sound like a wave sample to the playlist. Instead, we put it into the piano roll And when you do it, you can see some LFO settings in here. So the sound originally sound like this. So you can just automate the LFO settings, amount, and the speed. And yes, in the sampler, you can create some really cool LFO effects with any sample. And we just combine it with the Olly James Disco big wobble sound. So it's a really cool and unique drop feel. Of course, we have some impact, and let's find where are they. Always put some low end to the fills. If you don't have low end in your build-ups, in your fills, it's gonna sound really empty. And also we have some one-shots, which is already in the break. So we're just repeating the same sounds all the time in the track to get a constant feeling on them. We have some risers and some sweep ups. I think Max already told this how to make this in the break video, so I'm not gonna retell again. Yeah guys, the first drop is like this. I think I forgot to tell you about the step. For the steps, we have an Avenger sound. So it's original sound like this. Let's find. We wanted to make it so fat, that's why we cut the lows, boost some mids, and boost the lows really much. Some overdrive and EQ, and we made it super wide with Haas effect, delay, reverb, and sidechain. And also we had a tail like this. And yeah, we have a pitch automation going on to make the sound a bit more interesting. And I think this is it for the first drop. Let's go to the second drop. Let's try to playback it. So in terms of kick and bass, we have only one difference from the first drop, which is the psytrance sound. We didn't process it that much, just cut the lows because we already have a dedicated sub. So just boost the mids, cut the sub, and then Camel Crusher to boost it a bit more. And we have a filter, so because in the second part we just filtered it in like this. Let's see how it sounds with kick and bass. But it wasn't cutting through the mix. That's why we wanted to add some hi-hat loops. So adding some hi-hats like this always helpful to enhance your bass samples. This kind of, you can add some transients to it. This time we saturated the heads, cut the lows, and then we put a transient master to boost even more. Make it tight with less sustain and make it more clicky with more attack. And we sidechain it like this. And other than that, the drums are same. But this time we have two different leads. The first lead is we have an acid lead like this. The acid sound is this. For the acid sound, actually Olly processed them and sent us stems because they were clashing in terms of the stereo field. He made this acid sound 100% mono, and he made the steps, like the leads, super wide so they are not conflict at all. It's a really good way and technique you can apply. So if you have same sounds with same power, they will probably clash. So you can make one more in the middle and one more into the sides, so they can sound good without conflicting with each other. The step sound is actually from the future Rave leads. They are here. They only have some pitch automation. And as you can see, we have the reverb again to fill the gaps between MIDI. And for the acid, let's show you this preset and the processing of it. So it sounds like this. We wanted to make it super crisp, super big, like too much distortion. So we use Camel Crusher, Sausage Fattener, Novel Tech Character, all of them. And then we have just several boosts with the EQ and some cuts. Actually nothing crazy on it, just a little coloring stuff. And we have 100% mono. And for the delay and reverb, it's same as the future Rave leads. There's no difference. So we use the same delay and reverb bus to put all the synths in the same space. Kick, bass, and the leads for the second drop, they sound like this. And also we have Olly James, so much Olly James samples, like white noises, drop noise impact, reverse synths. And yeah guys, the drops for the hooked like this. I hope you can apply this to your own productions and you can learn from something. And again, thank you for the massive support on the track. And it's a really big pleasure to be part of Rave Room Recordings family. I hope we are gonna bring you more tracks that we are currently working on them. So no more boring big rooms. Let's make some unique tracks together. And today that was it, guys. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video. Bye bye.
Hey guys, my name is Max Aeris, and today I'm going to do a walkthrough on our track released together with Olly James and Ozgun called Hooked. And I'm going to show you guys how we made breakdowns, build-ups, and I will show you the mastering project. Alright, let's get going. Alright guys, this is the project file, and let's start with explaining the first breakdown. It sounds like this.
Don't understand, this is something it's not. You got me locked on your love like a drug. I can't pretend it. Don't understand, this is something it's not. You got me locked on your love like a drug.
Okay, and I will start with the vocals. So for the processing, first of all, we put an EQ. We cut it down everything below 100 Hz. Then this is a Fruity Peak controller. I will show you guys why do we need it. Then this is an RVox. It's a compressor plugin from Waves. Then it's a CLA vocal stereo. We added some width. Then we added some high frequencies with a treble parameter, and we compressed it just a bit. Then it's a FabFilter Pro DS. We needed it to get rid of annoying sounds in vocals. Then we went for EQing once again. We added a boost in 4K area. And then this one, it's probably one of my most favorite plugins because I always use it. It's called Max EQ3, and what it does, it adds some air effect to the sound. And yeah, let's just listen to the vocals with and without it.
I can't pretend it. Don't understand this is something it's not.
Yes, as you can hear, the sound has dramatically changed and it sounds much more fresh right now. And then we have a delay and reverb, which are automated to the Fruity Peak controller. And if you guys don't know about this trick, I can show it to you. So you will have to choose a reverb or delay which you like. Then you right click on the mixer knob, you click link to controller, and then you choose here peak parameter. You choose it and then go to the mapping formula and choose inverted, and it will make your sound react to the peak controller, and every time the sound is playing, the reverb is not playing. Alright, we are moving further. So I'm going to show you the vocal final bus, and on this bus we have a Fruity effector. I will show you how we used it a bit later. Then this one, Valhalla Room, it only activates in Buildup. Then these two, Peak Child and API 560. We use these two plugins to finalize the vocals processing, and I especially like this wonderful EQ. And now you can see every band which you can boost or reduce in your vocals, and that makes your processing much easier. Then this one, Fruity Delay 3, we needed it to fill some gaps, and it's not playing all the time, so we just automated the dry wet knob. Well, I think that's it for vocals. Let's move to the break synth, and I will start with the break Reese. It sounds like this. Well, as you can hear guys, this sound is super distorted, and moreover we added some interesting elements to it, like a filter cutoff automation. So if you guys want your track sound really moving, really fresh, just make sure you create as many automation clips as it possible. Well, as for the processing, we used Camel Crusher in it with Annihilate preset, which is really heavy. Then we added an EQ, so we are adding some low end to it. And we added a dynamic EQ to get rid of resonating frequency. And then we just tamed the high end to leave space to some other instruments. Then we have a Fruity Patcher. So here we have a mid-size splitter out of Fruity Stereo Shaper. Then we have a limiter to get rid of dynamics. And then we added an endless smile with a small amount of reverb to glue sounds together. And the next one is my favorite distortion plugin. It's called Devastator 2. And let me just show you guys the difference, how it sounds without it. Well, as you can hear, it makes a huge difference. And as for the final step, we used this EQ. We added 4 dBs in 360 Hz area, because we needed some more body. Let's move on. It's time to talk about the break pad. It comes out of Dune 3 VST. Processing wise, we have this EQ, removing the low end. Then we added one more EQ, because we needed to make sure that we still don't have any low end. And moreover, we made a high cut, because we needed to make sure that this pad is leaving some space for some other instruments. And these few dips are really helpful for your mix down, because sometimes it happens that the sound contains so many resonating frequencies that you don't want to hear, and it really spoils your mix. And then this one and Decimer 2 makes this pad really sound unique, because it creates a beat crushing effect. So let me just play you guys without it and with it. Well, as you can hear, it adds some pleasant high frequencies, and it's a really great way to make your pad sound unique. Then we had a fruity stereo enhancer, and we needed it because we wanted this pad to be really huge, really stereo, and this setting really works fine. Then we have a break harp, and it sounds like this. It's a pretty simple sound. It's coming from Dune 3 VST once again. And in terms of processing, we EQ'd it. Once again, we are always making sure that we don't have a unnecessary low end in other instruments, except for the bass, of course. And then this one, called Pancake 2. I used it for the panning effect with LFO set to 2 bars. It's moving from left to right, really smooth, and it's a great way to make your sounds more unique. Then we added a reverb, and lastly we have this fruity balance, because sometimes it happens that your sounds are not perfectly balanced in terms of volume, and you always have to make sure that those balances are right. And I think that's it for the break synths, and it's time to get forward to the ambient line. And the ambient line sounds like this. And this ambient line is, in my opinion, the best part of the whole track, because it gives a lot of identity and a lot of atmospheric feeling about this track. And as for the processing, I used the low cut to give more space for the bass, and then I added a Valhalla shimmer on each of these samples just to glue them together better. Well, it's time to get to the FX line, which sounds like this. And nothing special, because we don't even have any processing on them. These are just samples which we trust to, and it's a great way to get your track moving. And I think that's it for the break sounds. And now let me show you guys how our build-up sounds like. Well, as for the build-up, the most interesting part is our vocals getting bit crushed, and it's made by this plugin called Effector, and we set it into the lo-fi mode. And as you can see, we automated the X and Y parameters to get it more interesting, and we also automated the dry and wet parameter to make sure that it's not on 100% all the time, so it's rising. Then we added some drums. They sound like this. And as you can see, there is no processing on it and nothing special about the build-up. We just added some more FX samples to create a nice sustain, and then we created some automations for our break synths, and we created a pitch bend automation for our bass and pad, so everything feels glued together more. And then we created a volume automation for our bass, because we want our drops to sound bigger, and it's a great way to get rid of bass right before the drop. Then we made sure that our pad and ARP fading away right before the drop, so we don't need it, and we created automation clips for the cutoff for each of these sounds. Well, I think that's it for the build-up, and let's get into the second break. The second break sounds like this.
I can't pretend it. Don't understand this is something it's not. You got me locked on your love like a drug. I can't pretend it. Don't understand this is something it's not. You got me locked on your love like a drug.
And what makes this break special is this trap part. So we had another project when we were trying out some options for this break, and this trap part sounds amazing. That's why we went for it, and we created those drums, and we don't even have any processing on them at all, because like I said before, they are taken from our another project. Then we have these brass tabs. They sound like this. We have an EQ and a reverb on those tabs, and one more element. It's called break brass. It sounds like this. It's really silent, but it gives some more frequencies, and we processed it with a Camel Crusher. We added some more EQing because we always make sure that we don't have any low end. And then we made it a little wider with this S1 Imager stereo because we needed that sound to be a bit wider. Well, I think that's it for the second break. And the last thing I want to show you guys is this cool riser trick which we made, and our riser sounds like this. And as you can hear, guys, what makes this riser sound special is definitely this cutoff automation. And we decided to create it manually because we wanted to achieve the organic effect. Well, and I think that's it for the breaks and build-ups, and it's time to get into the mastering project. And this is what the mastering project looks like, and I will show you guys how I made the mastering. Alright, first of all, I made sure that this pre-master sample is routed to the mixer channel, which leads to the master. So it means that I can process this render firstly, and then it goes to the master. Well, the first plugin is a PukeTech EQ. I added 2 dBs in 12K because I needed some more high-end. Then I used one more EQ. I needed to have a bit more presence in the mix, and I thought that 3K boost fits really well. And it's time to get into the master channel. And what do I have is that I have a Fruity Stereo Enhancer, and I used it for the automation clips. So I automated this stereo separation parameter, and I made sure that I am removing all the stereo information in the build-up. And by doing this, you are making sure that your drop sounds much better. And by doing this, I made sure that my drop is going to have a much bigger impact. Then I have a Valhalla room, and I automated the mix parameter. It washes out the build-up and it makes your drop sound bigger. Then I use the creative filter to get rid of the low frequencies. Then I go for a compressor, and this one is from T-Rex. It's called Opto Compressor. So I made these settings because I didn't want to squash the mix down, and these are just slide settings to get things more glued together. Then I used an Ozone 9 imager, and I made everything below 75 Hz mono and everything above 2K stereo. And then I have this one, it's called BX Digital 2, and I don't have it now because I had some problems with reinstalling at my old HDD, but I used this one for EQing. So I scoped the mix and I cut it down every annoying frequency. And then I have a FabFilter Pro L. It's an amazing limiter, and I made sure that this true peak limiting option is on because it prevents the creating of artifacts. And lastly, I have this plugin called Brick Wall Limiter, and I needed it to get the sound more aggressive. So I put attack and release time both to 0.1 milliseconds, and I reduced the output ceiling because it makes the sound more aggressive. So let me show you guys how it sounds with and without this plugin. Well, and as you can hear, it makes a huge difference. Alright guys, and I think that's it for today's walkthrough. I hope you learned something new, and I want to say thank you for all the support on Hooked, and I want to say thank you for watching this video. So stay safe and be good.